If you're a new visitor to Universal Orlando Resort, here are attractions that you shouldn't miss.
We were once newbies going to Universal, and here's a couple things or attractions that we wish we knew about a little bit more. We're going to talk about them in today's video.
Starting things off with HAGRID'S Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, also known as just HAGRID'S.
This is one of the best rides I've ever been on in my life. You ride a motorcycle, or if you're the passenger, you're in the passenger car, and you get to take a ride through the scenes of this amazing attraction.
It is immersive. The ride begins in Hagrid's hut, where Hagrid invites guests to join him on a Care of Magical Creatures class, and you board a motorbike or a sidecar, and you go off through the Forbidden Forest. It's super immersive. It's something that I was surprised about. I know that Universal is changing the game when it comes to attractions and storytelling, and this one is not only so immersive, but it's thrilling.
And if you're not a Harry Potter fan, which I am not, it's not that I'm not a fan. I'm not familiar with the books or movies. You can still have a great time on this ride and still understand what's happening without having to be somebody who's followed all of the movies or books.
I think that's huge, and I think that's worth noting. Give it a chance. Even if you're not into the movies or books of Harry Potter, you will love it. This actually features a record-breaking 7 launches.
That's amazing. And it's one of the most expensive coasters ever built as well. And the same people who built this also built the Velocicoaster.
All right, let's talk about that one next.
The Velocicoaster, this is the best coaster. Now, Hagrid's is some amazing theming along with the great coaster. Velocicoaster is just great coaster. It's going to make you fear for your life a little bit in a good way.
It takes you on a high-speed journey. There's tons of twists, turns, and inversions. I gotta say, this coaster really changes how I feel about Universal in general. It's just so incredibly immersive, and it is one of the most intense coasters, yet it's smooth on my body.
It definitely, you look at Velocicoaster and how you sit down on it, and before you get on the attraction, you think to yourself, wow, am I going to be safe on that? But you feel very safe with the way the harness comes over your lap. And then there's the 2 launches. The first launch, you think, okay, this is great. This is not too bad. And then you get into that second launch that launches you up to 70 miles per hour, up the tallest peak of the coaster, and you think, I'm going to die.
That second launch is literally breathtaking. Like, you really don't, you think that the ride should be over at that point because it's a pretty long ride. And then you get to that second part and you go, it tricks your brain almost when you're on because you think, all right, I'm settling down now. I can relax. And oh no, we're just getting started.
Oh yeah, this not only is this a great, exciting coaster, but it's longer than you expect it to be. And there's probably 2 or 3 times during the ride where I feel like I'm going to fall out of my seat, but not in a scary way. It just lifts you up out of your seat a little bit with the inversions, and you think to yourself, okay, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
I'm going to die.
I would rather die.
It does that on purpose. It flips you out of your seat a little bit, just so slightly, so you do feel that extreme fear, especially when you're on over water, going upside down, and it's done just beautifully. It's one of those rides where you get off and you think you just, like, you should get an award or something because you just faced your fear and you did something so crazy, and it's just so much fun.
It's unbelievable.
All right, moving on to a little less, I think, intense. Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Now, this ride takes you on a journey through Hogwarts Castle, which I think is a must-do, especially if you're a newbie. Even if you're not following Harry Potter, I think you're going to have so much fun going through this beautiful castle. And then you'll see magical creatures and characters from the series.
I fall into the category of people who didn't know much about Harry Potter before going to Universal. And I have to say, even as one of those people, I really enjoy my time there. Universal did such an amazing job with the castle and the sceneries in the Wizarding World that I can appreciate that even from a non-fan's perspective.
Agreed. And that castle is beautiful. Like I said, it totally immerses you, and it's just wonderful the way Universal has really changed their game and really shown what they can showcase in an attraction. This one in particular, I don't know if I love, just because your seat tips back and you literally think you're going to fall out of it, which I don't love that feeling of going upside down like that. But it's super fun for kids and just in general, it's a great ride.
Next, Moving on, Jurassic World, the ride.
Okay. I know people are probably confused of why this is on the list because it's not necessarily the best ride. However, for a newbie, I love this attraction. It takes you on a river rafting adventure through the world of Jurassic Park. And to me, it's a really immersive experience, and it's not a screen ride, right? So you're seeing things in real time and you're experiencing dinosaurs, and there's drops. So I think it's the perfect element for Universal.
And it's a fun water ride without getting soaked. There's a couple water rides in Universal where you go on and you get drenched.
Yeah.
And I try to avoid those water rides at all costs. And this is one that I can enjoy with the knowledge that, you know what, I'm going to go on this. I may get a little bit wet, but I'm not going to be so soaked that I'm going to have to go back to my hotel room and change before I enjoy the rest of my day.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than like soggy, wet shoes.
Nothing worse than that on a hot, humid Florida day.
All right, back to Harry Potter. We got to mention the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, especially we have to talk about Gringotts, the ride. That's really intense. It is also in the immersive land of Wizarding World. It's a must-see. You can explore the shops. You can even cast spells with an interactive wand. There's just so much to see here that it's really an experience that you have to just try.
You know, Disney is known for their queues in telling stories through the queue before you get on the attraction itself. And I think Universal really stepped up their game here with these two attractions in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, where it tells you the story before you get on the ride. And these two queues, when you walk in the door for the first time, you feel like you are in the bank and in the castle. It does an amazing job of making you feel that. And there's so much to see and look at that even though they are a long wait sometimes, there's a lot to look at and take in and learn about before you actually get on the ride itself.
For sure, worth the wait.
And you have to try butterbeer. I mean, obviously, you got to try butterbeer in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, whether it's frozen or not frozen.
That's right. All right, next one is my favorite. The only thing I would say that is negative about it is I wish it was just a tad a bit longer, but this is the Mummy, an indoor roller coaster. This is at Universal Studios. It is based on the 1990 film The Mummy, and I absolutely am obsessed with this ride.
You love this roller coaster.
My favorite. I would say if you get the chance to sit in the front, you're going to have a better experience. That's really where I feel the most intensity. It's a high-speed chase through an ancient city. You board mine carts, and you're just transported through the film.
You love sitting in the front row, and I have to say the only negative about this one, like you mentioned before, is it is a little short. If the wait is long, you get on there, and before you know it, it's over.
Yeah, I wish it was just a few seconds longer, but I still love it. It's worth the wait. It's immersive. It's storytelling. It's cool. I love all the beautiful visuals throughout the ride, and it's always going to be on the top of my list.
And then if it's a cold Orlando day, which doesn't happen too often, you get in there and you get those flames coming up, and you can see you can warm up a little bit with those immersive parts of the roller coaster there.
Or if you get caught on a rainstorm or a ride, you kind of dry off.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, definitely. All right, next is a show. This is BOURNE Stunt Spectacular. It's a live stunt show based on the Jason Bourne film franchise. I think this is a must-do, especially for newbies. We walked by this many times when we were visiting Universal for the first few times. Didn't really understand what it was. Never really took the time until we finally did, and it was actually it's a really cool show.
It's similar to people were saying it's to us. It was similar to the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular in Hollywood Studios, which it is, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's similar where it's a live action stunt spectacular, but it's in a theater, whereas Indiana Jones is outdoors. So you're going to walk into a theater, and it's going to take you through a couple scenes of the Jason Bourne film franchise where he's fighting different bad guys and is a mix between... The cool thing about this is the technology is a mix between live action and screen technology, which, of course, is screen technology in Universal Orlando. That's kind of what they're known for, right? But it does give you a good sense of the film, and it is cool to see how these stunts are between the actors and the storytelling itself.
All right, moving on to my favorite. This should probably have been number one if I created my very own list. This is Universal Orlando's horror makeup show. I am obsessed with this show. It's a live show. This is at Universal Studios, opened in June 7th, 1990, along with the theme park. It's a live demonstration of Universal legacy of horror movies, and I think it sets the tone of your entire day and visit at Universal Studios.
This brings you back to the golden age of horror films, back in the 60s and 70s when technology wasn't what it is today with CGI. It was more real makeup and how do we make this person really look like they're dying or got killed by zombies or something like that. And it shows you how they did that. And it's a mix between a comedy show and an education show.
Yeah, don't get confused by the title too much. It's not frightening. It can be gory, some of the things that they show, but it's just certainly not a scary thing to go see. What I really love is the lobby. It starts off because it shows displays, the Universal monsters, the Munsters. I love it, and I get to kind of see all the history right there. And then you go into the show itself, where you're going to see a pair of comedic actors who host the show, and it's just a real fun, educational, again, way to just kind of make you appreciate what Universal is all about.
I mean, if you're lucky and you're an extrovert, maybe you'll even become part of the show.
That is a fun surprise that the audience is invited to participate in some of the demonstrations, and I think that's what makes it super fun and interactive. I love all the demonstrations. You get to see how to create a werewolf mask, a zombie mask. It's just so much fun.
And I didn't necessarily want to do this. This isn't something that was on my must-do list or must-see list, but you did, and I'm glad I did because I probably, if I was alone, wouldn't have gone on this or gone to see this show. But after seeing it, I'm glad that I did. It was fun. It wasn't what I thought it was. I thought it was going to be gory and make me a little bit nauseous, but it was none of that. It was more of a lighthearted comedic take on how they make and produce horror films.
Yeah, it's just a great way to learn about the art of horror makeup and see how all those iconic characters from Universal's horror films just made it up to the screen. And I just think it's an entertaining show. Again, it gives me more of a perspective and appreciation to Universal and being in that park. So I think it's like I think if you're starting your day, I think you should just remember to go to this one.
It definitely gives you some perspective on how the park was started.
Yeah. All right, now on to a couple of other ones of my favorites, but I think these are also for if you have younger kids that you want to have them experience the fun of Universal. These are two things I think you should not miss. Number one, E.T. Adventure.
This was a ride that was designed with Steven Spielberg, who created the movie E.T. film in 1982. The ride opened in June of 1990 and was part of the grand opening. It's one of the OG attractions of Universal Studios Florida.
Based on the 1982 film, wow, 1982, a long time ago. The 1982 film E.T. the Extraterrestrial, yes, it was in collaboration with Steven Spielberg. So this ride opened part of the grand opening of Universal. So again, back to the classics. So I think it's also a must-do if you don't have young kids, but because I think it gives you a little bit of a perspective of what Universal is all about. But this is just so much fun. It takes guests on a flying bicycle adventure with E.T. to his home planet.
It's definitely a unique ride where you sit on a bicycle and you kind of fly through the forests and gives you the scenery of the movie. So if you are a fan of the movie, or maybe you watched it when you were a kid, you get to relive the movie itself. And if you're not a fan, it's still fun because you get to ride on a bike through the forest.
Yeah, and it's just, it kind of puts you in this dark setting. So you're in the dark forest, and it's kind of a nice sensory break from a lot of the screens that you see in Universal.
It reminds you of, which it is, because it was one of the original attractions of Universal Studios Florida, but it reminds you to back in the day when the attractions weren't screens. It's like these are the original attractions where it was about the storytelling and then creating scenes that people could fly through.
All right, last but not least, SEUSS Landing at Universal's Island of Adventure. I think this is one of my favorite areas. It's a great area for photos. It's just super colorful and fun, but they have a lot of popular attractions here, but especially if you have young kids, the Cat in the Hat, the High in the Sky SEUSS trolley train ride. I actually have to ride this every time we visit. There's just so many fun things here. This place reminds me of cotton candy and sugar, and so I love it, but I think if you have young kids, you especially should visit this if you're a newbie.
Definitely. If you're a new going to Universal Orlando Resort with young children, you're probably going to be spending a lot of time here because it's colorful. There's a lot of attractions that all the kids can go on regardless of their age. And then there's a lot of things to eat as well. I mean, this is a great place to get some snacks and get some food as well as ride some rides.
It's home to several rides, attractions, and lots of dining and shopping. So you can have a really good time just in this one area of Universal. And I just think that it's just super special. Again, if you have kids, it's great to visit. Or if you're a kid at heart like myself, you're going to spend a lot of time here.
I love it. So that's it. If you're going to Universal Orlando Resort, these are some things that we think you must check out, especially if you're new. These are the things that we wish we knew on our first visit, and we hope this video helps you. Let us know what you think in the comments below. As always, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and let us know who you are and where you're watching from in the comments below. And we'll see you on the next video.